This just in. Breaking news! Our top story tonight, the media company Beam, started by YouTuber sensation and global entrepreneur heartthrob Casey Neistat, is going through some corporate changes where CNN fully absorbed the company and the CEO and CTO are out. This isn't going to change the company at all. Then, Kimbal Musk talks about sustainability projects and real food whilst promoting his companies that support animal agriculture, leading everyone to wonder if he sees the irony. Later, Veganuary has the biggest month of adoption in history, posing the question, does Veguary even stand a chance? All this and more on tonight's OCDigest. Our first story tonight talking about Beam and their recent article and video segment on Square Roots. This is a company that I'm actually pretty excited about. Square Roots, not Beam, but I'm excited that they made this article. Square Roots is a vertical farming startup on the East Coast where they are making plants inside of pods. If you've ever seen shipping containers, they're building vertical farms with UV lighting inside of these containers, and they are testing a really great concept that as they scale and expand, they're going to be able to help save water.
You can create almost 40 pounds of food a week, upwards of 60 pounds, and we use only 10 gallons of water a day, which is pretty incredible.
Be able to help save land and be able to help people get access to healthier food that is healthier because it's fresher by the time they get it. Kimbal Musk is pretty deep in association with this company. He created an incubator back in mid last year, 2017, where they were looking to see who could figure out how to scale vertical farming inside of shipping containers. And Kimbal Musk sits on the board of Chipotle. He's had a very successful background, not just because of his association, very tight association with Elon Musk, his brother, but all the way back before Elon Musk was a millionaire, Kimbal Musk and Elon had a company together that they ended up selling to Yahoo for a bunch of money.
Receiving cash is cash. I mean, those are just a large number of Ben Franklins.
A year ago, Musk sold his software company, Zip2, which enabled newspapers to publish online for $400 million cash.
In fact, when they did fund us, they realized that we were illegal immigrants.
Well,
Yes, we were.
I'd say it's a gray area.
Yeah.
Zip2 was the company, if you've ever heard it. It was the money that helped get Elon started before he started a company that formed into PayPal, which then, as we know, helped Elon become a very wealthy man. Kimbal, alongside, had made his millions too, and over the years with investing in companies with his brother, one of the first investors in SpaceX, Kimbal has done very well financially, and due to a life-altering circumstance, he's found his passion with food and cooking and is going out and trying to educate and really empower people into why plants have power and helping move things forward in that realm. With one of his organizations, they're doing these things called community gardens. With one of his organizations, he has this company called The Kitchen where they help rally together local farmers. I think that's great. I also think that the local farmers need to stop using animals in their supply chain because there's enough things to farm, harvest, and create that will allow people to still have farms if that's what they're about. American agriculture is great. It's just the animal agriculture side is the not so great. So Kimbal Musk, I have an incredible amount of respect for this guy. I understand he's a very intelligent gent. He is extremely funny, and I know that he's kind and compassionate. There are people that are not vegan that are kind and compassionate and maybe don't have complete priorities set in there. Maybe they have the wrong information, and so they're making different decisions, and I get that. It's just when someone has this type of power, this type of influence, it's always a little bit of a bummer to me when I see that they're promoting something that they say is good,
Real food.
that maybe they even hope is good, but they just don't actually know. And so they're promoting real food while there's cows and cheese and milk and beef and stuff like that that's getting dished out on the other end of that sentence. And people think the real food, just because it comes straight from the cow and doesn't go through the processing, that it doesn't do the harm because all the harm is done in the processing. or so they think. So he's got a lot of influence, he's got a lot of success. I just kind of feel like he's another one of these corporate big shots that has conflicting priorities. He sits on the board of Chipotle, a majority of their revenue is from animal agriculture, and a lot of their marketing too is real food, real ingredients. I like to give examples that are extreme because they're the easiest to understand. But if you had a pile of dog doo-doo and you sprinkle some B12 supplements on it, or you put some protein powder on it, yeah, you're getting your protein, yeah, there's some B12, but you're still eating crap. And this is how it goes for things at Chipotle. This is how it goes for things at the kitchen. Yeah, it comes from the farmer. Yeah, there's not the antibiotics, maybe to the extent that it is in other animal agriculture scenarios, but you're still eating a cholesterol-ridden, saturated fat-heavy food that clogs the arteries from your brain to your winky.
I would just do erectile dysfunction until it got old.
College students have erectile dysfunction?
See, you know too many vegans. We know what we're talking about. No, yeah. No, it's really sad.
Wow.
Even starting in your 20s.
Man.
It's one of the first signs of endothelial dysfunction.
Yeah, it's the canary, right?
It's the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
That's right.
To your heart. And we see these types of deaths and disabilities pop up all over the place, and I just love to see more people on the side of the science that say real food is not things that have less processing. Real food are things that grow in the ground and things that make people healthy, not things that hold them back and hinder their health. Kimbal Musk, he does like teaching about veggies and fruits. I gotta give credit where credit's due. The Learning Gardens program is sprouting up. I love that little kids are getting the chance to go and put their fingers in the dirt, see what a carrot looks like upon seeding, sowing, harvesting, and then to pull it out, take a bite in. I believe that that is a great way to be able to educate society and the youth on things that are good for you. So keep that up, Kimbal. The way these learning gardens are starting to scale, Kimbal is looking to scale other things from the kitchen, which is his company that is a restaurant that uses local farmers. One of his big primary focuses is disrupting the supply chain. When people are shipping things across the country, your zucchini flies across the US or around the world, it becomes an expensive and wasteful product.
Since when did farm to table switch to air freight to plate? I'm good at flying.
This is a great thing to focus on. It's just that scaling the poop of cows is something that's impossible to do. Cows are producing more poo than they do milk. The poo doesn't need to be treated. The pee goes unfiltered and it goes back into our waterways, back into the oceans. And animal agriculture is responsible for the #1 cause of dead zones in our waters, #1 cause of Amazonian rainforest the #1 cause of animal extinction on the planet. Yes, we are experiencing a mass extinction event, and it's all tied to animal agriculture, not just the burps and farts and the methane and carbon emission release, but the waste it takes to feed and harvest a cow from birth to butcher. It takes a lot of resources. We have to feed it with food. We have to give it water to drink. And then, as they're pooing and peeing along their way, the unfiltered and untreated sewage ends up back in our ecosystem, harming the land, harming the world, and not just that, it continues to harm along the process because once people get it on their plate, it harms the inside of our bodies more than anything else as well. So my way of viewing this is the only way to make something in food sustainable is to pull out the animal agriculture part, pull out the butchers, and pull out the dairy, because eggs, dairy, meat, all of this is causing disease at an obnoxious rate, and we should just do without it. Like this one article from North Carolina where the manure from an average farm is going to be filling up 15,000 Olympic-sized pools worth of manure per year. Guys, this is ravaging our ecosystem, so if you don't think it's a big problem, well, then you just don't know shit. In one of his talks, Kimbal says that food is the next internet. Food is the opportunity of the 21st century. And I think that this is pretty close to along the lines people eat all day, every day, or at least should have more than 2 or 3 meals per day. Between this and drinking water, how do you commoditize something that is as frequently used as, let's say, air? And what he means by this is to systemize the way we get real food. And I'm talking about real food. I actually think he's really onto something with the Square Roots company, the shipping containers company. A little background on these guys will help catch you up to speed.
The mission of Square Roots is to train the next generation of farmers who are probably going to be working in a landscape, growing food for people in an increasingly urban setting. More and more people are moving to cities and also demanding healthy, fresh food. So the combination of those two things creates a really interesting niche for food entrepreneurs.
I've personally been inching towards this idea for quite some time because these types of rigs are extremely eco-friendly. A closed circuit system that waters with the water that was watered before, keeping it in-house and not dissipating throughout the soil, making it a controlled environment so you can harvest year-round. This is going to be using 10% of the water of a traditional farm. It's going to be inside of a single shipping container. It's going to harvest as much as a 2-acre crop. These things are great, and I really do see it as part of the wave of the future. Imagine every restaurant having 1 to 3 to 4 of these containers in their back lot. When you order the basil on your pizza, vegan pizza, they're gonna go outside, snip some off, and throw it on. I see this happening, and I'm really excited for it, and I'm glad that they're putting the work to expand upon this and pioneer this future industry. These pods are using infrared lights, and so the plants, since they don't care about the majority of the spectrum, they just care about the red and blue pills. And so you can control when they bloom, you can control when they grow, and you can isolate them within the outside weather. And so you can grow year round, you can harvest when you want, and you can count on at least up to 80 different species being allowed to be harvested in this type of environment. And so to close out on Kimbal, dude, you gotta go vegan. You speak a big game talking about real food, but you're gonna do some real harm to the environment and to people because you've got a lot of influence. There's gonna be a lot of eyes on you, so make sure you know what you're talking about, or at least be a little bit more transparent and don't lead on with these marketing ploys, confusing people while you're selling your product.
Real food.
But you've got a mission, you've got a great mindset, and you've got people that look up to you. So I can tell that as long as you adjust and go more plant-based, take out the animal products, you'll not just lessen your load on the world, you'll be able to help empower more into a healthy tomorrow. Moving on to our next story, Veganuary. This is a great movement that started in 2011. It's got celebrity endorsers, people that are backing it, that have a high authority. Someone like you might know from Harry Potter, Miss Ivana Lynch. These guys are helping people get the year started right with some sort of movement. It's not just a hashtag New Year, New You anymore. We've got Veganuary. Take meat off your plate, get dairy out of your face, and start the year on a nice plant-based model with a ton of support. You can see this chart has just been growing rampantly over the last, ever since inception, really. And what this is showing is that people are looking for support with their vegan transition. People are loving that there's so many resources. You can go onto veganuary.com and see that they have courses, recipes, workshops, events, podcasts, videos. They really do have it all. And so this is a great resource to be able to tie into at the beginning of the year, or really whenever you want along your path and growth and transition into a more plant-based life. It's movements like these that are going to help us show where the demand is. If you're in this right now, you think vegan all the time. The likelihood of this is high. It's what I do. But when we go into a grocery store, all the people that run the grocery store are thinking is, where are sales happening? And I'm going to continue supplying these sales. CEO of Whole Foods Market, John Mackey. This guy is all about being vegan. However, he doesn't sell vegan. It's one of the most conflicting stories I know of, a vegan running a non-vegan business. We've seen this happen here in San Diego. Cafe Gratitude has done some weird stuff behind the scenes. Not just their menu items being weird, but it just seems like these conflicts of interest are abundant when it comes to money, because people are trying to make the dollar bills instead of the decent change. And I think that this type of stuff should be stopped and at least not supported as often as you can. John Mackey, in particular, is an extremely conflicting guy. He's written the book Conscious Capitalism, and you would think with the title, oh, this guy's a nice capitalist. And he is, but at the same time, he does a lot of things that support the wrong behaviors, in my opinion. Throughout all sorts of interviews, John Mackey is all over the place with,
I don't want to sell animals, stop buying them. It's not my fault you people are eating meat.
I don't want to sell meat. You guys are buying it, so I'm selling it. He has these types of, I'm the victim because you guys are forcing my hand angle on it, which I just don't believe.
You just can't foist your own belief system on other people. That's just crazy.
He has said a few times that he's got to be pragmatic and he can't put his emotions into things. But at the same time, I can't help but wonder why he doesn't take it to the next step and be a pragmatic vegan instead of a pragmatic capitalist.
Entrepreneurs by nature are pragmatists. We got to satisfy the market. So you have to sell what people want to buy.
A pragmatic vegan in this scenario would say, hey, I want everyone to live a healthy, plant-based life. But since not everyone wants to, I'll offer some unhealthy vegan products. See, this would be a good meet in the middle type of scenario for John Mackey. Could you imagine if Whole Foods went completely vegan? The amount of carbon, greenhouse gas, forested land, oceans, wildlife habitats, all this stuff, people's lives that would be saved and changed and preserved because of this move would be astronomical. However, capitalist is the way that he wants to go. And so since the demand is there to sell animal products, he's going to continue selling it. And so it's up to us to push our friends to not buy animal products, to nudge our friends into purchasing more plant-based options. This is how it seems like we're going to get the big guys to adjust, because they're just looking for the dollar bills and not for the future thrills.
If I just wanted to force my eating views on everybody else, I'd go out of business.
I personally want to have a pragmatic view on things. This is why I've adjusted OCDeli's menu ability, where our standards are still waste-free fulfillment, so customers don't have to throw anything. But our menu, all of the items can be healthy vegan, but it doesn't have to be no sodium and no oil like it used to be. I gotta be pragmatic. So low oil, low sodium, and that was my adjustment to be able to fulfill more for the market while still sticking true to my vegan values.
You have to serve your customers.
And this is something that I would love to see John Mackey do more of. It's unfortunate that when he made the merger early in Whole Foods' development, that those guys weren't vegan. They wanted to bring in beer and meat and dairy into the establishment and make an entire market for it. So don't be misleaded by the name Whole Foods. It's not necessarily the healthiest place to eat. Meta, but on the micro, there are some great options there. Speaking of great options there, last night I just had for the first time the TTLA sandwich. There's a video somewhere in the description to be able to show you what that looks like and what it looks like after I taste it. Great stuff. But let's not get confused that when we purchase things at Whole Foods or Walmart or any store that is not a vegan store, regardless of if we're buying something that's vegan, something without animal products, something that's healthy for you, it's always the silver lining that when you buy something there, you're still putting money into Big Ag's pocket. And so this is why I'm excited to see whenever a vegan Whole Foods comes out or whenever a vegan Amazon gets established, these companies are going to have an interesting skyrocket in adoption rating because people will want to stop putting money into Big Ag, putting money into the most disruptive, destroying thing on the planet like animal farming. I do have to give John Mackey credit where credit is due. He knows a lot about micronutrients. He does know a lot about the power behind a whole foods plant-based diet since he's had it for the majority of his life.
Well, I know we probably don't agree all the way on butter, but that's okay, right?
Whole Foods sells butter, so I'm not going to throw down. I'm not going to throw down butter.
There you go.
Moving on, a little bit of a sadder note, but I want to swing a bit of praise into it. Tom Petty's accidental death over the last week is something that has shaken the music industry and the hearts of many around the world. It's truly something that's sad, and I personally have had a recent experience losing a loved one to pills and combination of drinking, and so I know what the family might be going through. So my heart's out to the family. I just wanted to touch on a few things on the story because I think so much of where death and health have in play with each other is eating a good diet. And so in the case of Tom Petty, he had a broken hip, he was in massive pain, and so he was taking painkillers. True to his nature of being a musical legend, Tom performed on tour with broken bones, and his family thinks that this was what caused him to be in so much pain to put himself in the position where he overdosed accidentally on painkillers. And what ends up happening when you put too many pills in your body, your organs just can shut down. It seemed like he had some sort of issue beforehand with cardiac events. And so what this means to me is that there was a lot of poor diet before and leading up to this. Because if you have any clogging of the arteries in the heart, if you happen to have ailments, and your bones are brittle to the part of breaking. I'm not saying that this is the exact case for this. I'm just trying to give advice because so many people are going to suffer through osteoporosis. So many people are going to suffer with cardiac events, while the majority of these people don't understand that it's a preventable disease. Cardiac events are a reversible symptom. And so I just feel like if Tom Petty had a healthier diet, not just throughout his life, but even for the last year, maybe his organs wouldn't have given up with something that he probably thought was normal for him. There is just so far your body can go when you're so hard on it with prescription drugs and a difficult tour schedule. Not many people are as aware as I wish they were that heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, all of these diseases are not just preventable, but many of them show to be reversible with a healthy enough plant-based diet. And it's this reason that so many top performing athletes are now changing. Enormous celebrities are publicly putting out there that they are adopting a vegan diet. Now, vegan and plant-based sometimes are the same thing, but are definitely different. What I mean by this is a vegan company or a vegan diet is one where there's absolutely no animal sabotage to any extent, where there's no testing on animals, no disrupting animals and their ecosystem. Many strict vegans will also stay away from palm oil just because it's unavoidable in the deforestation of the palm oil to not harm animals and not kill life in the process. A plant-based diet has to do strictly with eating a whole plant foods diet. So a plant foods diet could be a vegan diet as long as you're strict with the plant-based foods, but a vegan diet is not necessarily seen as a plant-based only diet, to sort out the confusion. And so one of my biggest joys in life is seeing a top celeb an influencer on social media transition and shout out to their followers that they're changing and they're turning it up in the vegan world. They're going over to the plant-based society. And these guys have a huge impact on the world because every individual that changes to a vegan diet saves 20 pounds of CO2 emissions every day, 30 square feet of forested land, 15 pounds of food, saves a ton of stuff, plus an animal's life. And so when a celebrity that has 1 million+ followers says, hey, I'm going vegan, everyone should join me, this is great because that means thousands, potentially tens of thousands of people are going to adjust their diet. Not everyone will stick, not everyone will be strict, but at least the impact and the waves will be started. And this is actually showing to be more effective than government regulation changing or the pyramid getting decommissioned to the plate. I believe that influencers will be an additional asset to the wave of vegan adoption that is absolutely needed to avoid us from absolute catastrophe with global warming and climate change. We can see so much be saved by just changing what we put in our face, and I love the influence that comes from celebs that say they're changing. We had will.i.am over the New Year's celebrate creating the V-Gang and going hard.
I'm on a mission. Why the mission? Here's why. I'm tired of being pimped by food companies and then eating bad, poisonous food and then feeling horrible in the morning and then working and not taking care of my body. I'm living that plant-based diet, taking care of my body, all about the transformation. That's why. Yo, I told my friends that I'm gonna become a vegan and live that plant-based diet. So they start chuckling and laughing, talk about, you know how you know a vegan's a vegan? Because a vegan will let you know they vegan. But yo, actually I ain't no vegan. I'm vegan. Vegan. Yo, isn't it funny that people will actually be proud to represent the stupidest shit, like killing people and hurting people and disrespecting women, but when it comes to like representing eating right, you get laughed at. Vegan. I'm hardcore with it. Vegan. Why am I hardcore about this shit? Because I need to be hardcore about this shit. Everywhere I go, I'm getting tantalized and hypnotized by burgers and fries and, oh my gosh, delicious sweet potato pie, but fuck that shit. I'm hardcore right now. Forever. Be gang.
We have Karli Bybel and her boy that are doing things great on YouTube, how-to videos here and there. We have tons of plant-based advocates and vegan aficionados that have been moving the ball down the field for a very long time. And so there's so much support. I believe that the stigma is dropping. Everyone knows that being vegan and plant-based is the wave of the future to some extent. And whether or not they like it, meat eaters, have been dropping the amount of animal products that they're putting in their diet, and really has been this incognito transition that's been happening. Adjusting the milk, going to a plant milk, adjusting the meats, trying out some faux meats. And you know what? I see people that are putting more veggies on their plate just because it's the cool thing to do and because they want the insta booty. And so whatever it takes to get things moving in the right direction, way to go. And of course it's the right way to go. There's no humane way to slaughter an animal that wanted to live, and there's absolutely no eco-friendly way to raise more animals on the planet than there are people. Every year, we are essentially harvesting 50 to 60 billion animals. This is 10 times the world's population. These animals need to be fed, any mammals need to drink water, and we need to move these things around to then get into people's plates. And the thing is that it's one of the most harmful things that we're doing to the world, but it's also the most harmful thing in many people's diets. Sam Harris, known for his thoughts and also well known for his podcasting, Waking Up with Sam Harris, recently said this.
On our short list on both of our lists was the horrors of factory farming. I mean, it's obvious that if you look at the details there, that's just morally indefensible, and I would want no part of it, and yet I seem content because I eat meat to delegate this slaughter and all of its attendant miseries to other people. And so we just sort of started talking about that, and then I more or less found myself performing an intervention on both of us, kind of challenging us to defend our practice of eating meat, and finding that I couldn't, and Paul also conceded that he couldn't. I've decided to become a vegetarian and perhaps a vegan. I'm now getting, as you might expect, inundated with information from vegans and vegetarians, which I actually solicited. Given that I have other sources of protein, I would not feel good killing that cow to get a hamburger. And I would never feel good killing that cow to get a hamburger, and therefore delegating the killing of that cow to somebody doesn't seem ethical. I would feel terrible that my preference for a hamburger over a veggie burger or whatever it is was so strong and ineluctable that I would go into the backyard and kill this animal or have someone else do it for me. Just imagine doing that in front of your kids. Just the whole thing intuitively, viscerally, just seems indefensible to me. And it's increasingly, it is species dependent.
And what's great about this is it can't be debated. There's no morally defensible way to say, I need to kill this animal because it does this for me. The only reason we're doing it is because we used to do it and because the multi-billion-dollar subsidies that get pushed into animal agriculture exist. But if the market was different and we put as many subsidies as we do into meat and dairy, 55 plus billion per year, as we did into fruits, nuts, and veggies, only 172 million per year, it's a 50 times different scenario. So there's 50 times more government money and government assistance that goes into dairy and meat in the US. And what would end up happening if we're able to get the fruits, veggies, and nuts as subsidized as we do right now have beef, dairy, and eggs, we're going to have the cheapest diet on the planet being the healthiest diet on the planet sometime soon. Oh, it appears a plant-based vegan diet is already the healthiest and cheapest diet on the planet, so good news. will.i.am was especially excited about it. Big guy! He is tired of getting used. He's tired of being manipulated. I think we all should too. I know I'm speaking from experience. I've closed and helped influence probably about 100 people directly to change their diets to a more plant-based or even vegan diet. And I'm just one bloke. If someone like will.i.am gets out there and says, you guys are only cool if you're doing the right thing to the planet and to your body, more are gonna follow suit, and I'm excited for that. All it really takes is getting educated, applying it yourself, and then sharing your results. And that is kind of how the magic happens. I had some health issues. I sought out for lessons, I applied new principles, and my life completely changed, and I just started telling people about it, and that's what got people excited to be able to try it out for yourselves. And after about 2 or 3 weeks, there's weight that naturally falls off of you. You naturally start to think more clear, taste differently, and start to see the world in a healthier mindset. Saving some money, eating better things, trying new things out, and that's what plant-based eating is all about. No one likes being sick all the time. Who likes paying more money for things that make you smell and make you fat and break out? I don't know anyone that wants to be the nuisance on their family because of their health ailments that they could avoid themselves. People like making good decisions. Everyone likes being smarter than dumber, and the thing about a plant-based diet and going vegan is it is one of these no-brainer scenarios that as it continues to unfold, I think much like the flip phone to smartphone transition, once you got a smartphone, you never looked back. I believe that once people get to a healthy vegan plant-based diet, they're never going to look back, and our world is going to become a much better place for our future generations. So that about wraps it up for today's OCDigest, where we're bringing you relevant plant-based news from around the world, throwing in some insight, and helping remind you that we're in this together. If you have any stories that you think should be covered or might be relevant, go ahead and throw the link and suggestions into the comments. I'd love to look into it and see what I could do. And if you've made it this far, prove your likelihood to us. This is a new channel, a new show. If you like the video or if you subscribe to the channel, these platforms will kick us up into suggested videos and we'll get out there sooner. So every bit will help. thank you. Also, if you subscribe, you'll be able to see when the next video drops, so you're not too far behind on the news as it comes out. And so that about does it for the show. My name's Caleb Brandeles, and until next time.